In case you are wondering, if you put a 64 gigabyte SD card into a Zoom H6 recorder, you will have 100 hours, 23 minutes, and roughly 39 seconds. Guys, welcome to the podcast.
Wow, I didn't know that until now.
Yeah. This week, we have our friend Brandon from This Is Tech Today. We have myself, Christina, and we also have James, the smartest one of the group.
Oh, that's so flattering.
I needed something to say about you. It wasn't true.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That was the nicest thing you've ever said. I assumed you didn't mean it.
Oh my gosh.
So we're here with Brandon. We're in his Russian dance club
With his quasar light
with
beams.
beautiful
The
quasar
little
light
lightsabers.
beams. If you want to see it in full glory, you can go to his channel and see his beautiful setup of multimedia action. It looks fantastic. But if you're just watching the video version of this podcast, you can enjoy a much wider view of the same
usual
studio. But yes, we want to talk to you today about you hitting 100,000 subscribers.
Yeah.
And what you've learned from that process.
There's so much to Brandon. And just first off, we'll link everything to his below. He is a wizard of all of the knowledge on YouTube. And selfishly, I'm here to get counsel. So that way I don't lose my mind and just absorb all of the information. And hopefully he has something valuable to share. Is that offensive?
So. No. I don't know.
Brandon, give us. All right, bye.
I'm always surprised that people even want to hear what I have to say.
Oh,
So,
you've got so much to say. So, first off, give the people listening a quick rundown of who you are and what you do. What do you make videos about?
Yeah, my name is M. Brandon Lee, because I go by my middle name, and I have a channel called This Is Tech Today. It's the intersection of technology in our everyday lives, in business, and all things creative, and that gives me an opportunity to talk about a lot of different things centered around tech, but lately it's been around smartphones and googly things, and there's a reason for that, which we'll talk about later.
Ooh, interesting. Googly things.
Yeah.
That's a good cliffhanger. I like that.
Yeah.
It's good. He's good at foreshadowing. Yeah.
So he recently hit 100,000 subscribers, which is unreal. And wow, that's a lot of human beings. So
it is.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Everybody clap if you're listening. Clap right now. I don't care where you are.
It's so cool when people who are your friends and who are like really engaged in the community hit some sort of milestone like that, because I think it means so much, and you've seen how hard they work. Like I remember when John Prosser, when they really started hitting some milestones, whenever they grow, whenever they do something special, it means so much because John has worked his face off.
Oh yeah, he pushed so hard during that season.
Yeah.
He got like burnt out hardcore.
Yeah.
I was like, oh man, take a nap.
Your friends' wins become your wins, and we've seen that kind of play through. I appreciate you answering my tweets about what looks good in a thumbnail, and just wow.
Yeah, I like helping out other people. So I figure if we all help each other win, we all win. So yeah.
Very good. I think the first thing that I would like to ask you is, in hitting 100,000, what do you think was a primary fuel source in getting you there?
Yeah, so I really think community is a big part of that. I had a group of other creators that I became friends with. Somehow on accident, I think they pulled me into it. I don't know. How did I end up there?
You got invited to the club.
I got lucky. So yeah, we have a friend called John Proser, and so or John Prosser. So he kind of lit the match for me, helped us think a little bit differently about what YouTube is, what the platform's asking for, and in many ways seek after humility, whether or not like you get that vibe from him. But that's how I interpreted that whole thing is, I have to adhere to what the platform's asking for, and that's how I succeed, which requires me to humble myself.
Yeah. Ooh. Okay. So there's no creative arrogance. There's no, I want to make this thing.
Yeah. I don't deserve anything. So if you ever, man, I'm not always the best on Twitter. Sometimes I shouldn't talk, but like if I get, I need friends to stop me. But like a lot of times the thing that will trigger me the most is entitlement. I was like, I don't think any of us deserve anything. And when and part of the mindset that has helped me in so many situations is avoiding and fighting against entitlement. So I had just had a little algorithmic ditch a few weeks ago, and I was like, well, was about time that I had that happen to me, you know?
Yeah.
If anything I deserved was that, like, because everything felt easy to me. So just realizing that I don't deserve views, I don't deserve all these different things, I have to earn it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It makes you grateful for every view that you do get when you look
absolutely.
at it that way.
Well, like just the fact that you guys want to have me on a podcast, because I don't feel entitled to certain things. I'm just like, whoa, why do you want to talk to me?
Yeah.
And so it ends up making every single thing really exciting and like a privilege. And I think that's a really good mindset to have just in general with life, but especially for content creators, because, you know, you get like your essence, your being, your soul into things, and then you put it out there. And when someone doesn't really watch it, or you feel like people don't care about it, when it's really a computer deciding a lot of things, like you feel like your value and worth is all tied up in that. And you have to separate your value and worth from your creation, which is a very hard thing to do.
Yeah. Well,
Very
you know, what's
interesting.
interesting though, on the flip side of that is if someone validates the work that you've put in, the thing that you've poured your heart into, somebody validates that, it's so incredibly sweet. So it's almost like you have to have it connected in a positive way, but on the negative side, you have to disconnect it.
Yeah. Well, I have this thing that I often tell people, other creators, and in my consulting, is being a good manager to your creator. So the idea is that, first of all, on a practical level, is if you had a manager that was working your employee until the wee hours of the night, would you say that manager was good, or he was a jerk?
Oh yeah, I see where you're going with this.
So so first of all, in terms of taking care of myself, so I'm a really bad manager to myself, and I'm working on it. But like having that in mind, but also when you separate your creative side and your managerial side. So the creative side is like, hey, I wanted to create this to create and to feel like I've made something meaningful or fun or to learn. And so I put that out there. And once it's done, it's done. That's what I've taken care of. Now, the manager's job is to make it succeed, to market it, to get it out there. And if something doesn't work out, then the manager's role is to say, hey, I'm sorry that I didn't do so well on this one. I learned this, and I'm going to improve on it for the next time so that your creation can get out there to other people. So you're like mentally compartmentalizing two parts of yourself so that you can not get so burdened when something doesn't succeed.
Yeah. So I have a question. Do you feel like right now you're making the videos that you want to be making, or do you feel like you're making the videos that your audience wants you to make?
I do feel it's more on the side of what the audience would want. Part of
Does that make you happy?
I mean, I'm pretty stoked of all the things that have happened to my life, like in my life. Yeah, I'm just like, oh my gosh. A complete accident. Like never expected this to happen at all. But I have other outlets. I create other outlets. So that's why I want to create other channels, like a financial literacy channel and one for content creators. So I can speak into other content creators, hearts and their minds and things like that to hopefully like influence them to not only have a better way of thinking about what they're doing so that they have good mental health and they can feel inspired to do things, but also to use their opportunities and their platform, their influence, any money they make to make a difference in other people's lives. Because I think at the end of the day, cell phones, money, all these things fade, but having a good legacy of, making impact on other people, loving them well, that'll go on forever. And that matters way more to me.
Right. I love that.
Very good.
So the managerial side of your brain. Approaching titles in a video, when you're creating the concept for a video, when you're creating the concept for a title, which I am sure that you do all of that before you even start recording. I want you to dive deep on that process. And just a full disclaimer, this is Christina needing knowledge for her own self, because this is something that I'm actively struggling with. If you are actively struggling with these kind of things, semicolon. If you are actively struggling with these types of things and you are a creator, I will link Brandon's consulting information below, because like I said, he's a wizard and I'm excited for this. So dive in. Okay,
so a lot of people say, first of all, have a niche, and I like being a little bit enticing about that and say, screw having a niche, pick an audience. So understanding what people actually would want to see and would expect out of you. So part of that is a mental trick. A lot of things that I do is a mental trick. So I'm still picking this, like what would end up being a niche, but I'm thinking of, rather than a phone, I'm thinking of a person. And that makes it a little bit easier for me. And I feel like I have more freedom. That might just work for me. It might not work for other people. So that's one part of it. So for me right now, So for right now, in many ways, I talk a lot about Google products or phones, like the Pixel phones and things like that. And the reason for that, first of all, is understanding what the algorithm understands about me. And the simplest way that I can explain it is understanding that YouTube is based upon machine learning. It's all googly and insane. So the most basic way I explain it is that you have a cookie shop, and that's YouTube.
Okay.
And its role is to sell cookies, and you're going to feed it cookie dough. And so you're going to feed it chocolate chip cookies over and over and over again. And it's like, oh, okay, I know how to make chocolate chip cookies, and we're going to start advertising it to other people. Oh, they like chocolate chip cookies. And then after it's figured that out, you can sell a lot of cookies. But the moment you just throw in some random cookie in there, it doesn't know what you're doing anymore and who to market that to. So you have to slowly adapt to different things. So if you have like an oatmeal chocolate chip, you start integrating a little bit of
as
oatmeal
much
in
as we
there.
all love those.
So that's how you diversify your audience or your topics and things like that, is slowly integrating it. So if I were to talk about a Google Pixel phone, I would talk about it over and over again in the title, Google Pixel, 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 Pixel compared to iPhone, Pixel and iPhone over and over again. Now I'm just talking about the iPhone. It's like a sleight of hand.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Clever.
So you want a chocolate chip cookie, oatmeal chocolate chip cookie, hybrid cookie, to the point that the machine can't tell the difference.
It's just a cookie.
And then you're slowly transitioning over to the oatmeal chocolate chip.
Because if you are just talking about everything and everything, it doesn't know what the heck you're making.
Yeah.
And so if you were to look at the basics of machine learning, the common example is you feed it an image, and it's an image of a cat, and you keep saying, hey, this is a cat, this is a cat. So when you show it a picture of a dog, it's like, that's not a cat, that's something else, I don't know what it is. But if you feed all this data to it that's not the same, it doesn't know what to do. So that's why like the algorithm is a really, really powerful, dumb, like goofy thing. Like it knows how to do one thing very well. So when you understand that, you're like, okay, I got it. I can own you now. I tell you what to do.
Can I use a Star Wars reference? And I'm going to butcher it because I'm not very good at Star Wars. It's like, ready?
Okay.
It's like C-3PO.
Okay.
And how he's kind of dumb, but he's good at translating. And that's as much as I got.
There you go.
That's done.
I can get on board with that.
Yeah.
I've been on like quite the
accurate.
Star Wars
That was an accurate
kick.
reference.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I did my best. Thanks, guys.
So what I will end up doing is, first I understand who I'm trying to target. I understand the big picture of where I'm heading. So I'm trying to set out a foundation of my videos of how it's going to merge into something else. So there's multiple layers to what I'm doing. It requires incredible patience. And a lot of people are like, I tried this and I only did 3 videos of this. Why isn't it working? I'm like, because you only did 3 videos.
Yeah, right.
Like, why should it work?
Right, right.
That's not enough data. Like machine learning requires like millions and millions of data sets. So what it's gathering is the title, and then you have your description, and then I'll even do tags, and then I'll say it over and over and over again in my video because it's listening to that, and then your closed captions. So I am actually intentionally trying to say every single variance of one thing. So if you look at my tags, like if you have like TubeBuddy or vidIQ, you can see what those tags are. I'm intentionally only picking 2 or 3 things so I don't confuse the algorithm. So I'll talk about Google Pixel, Google Pixel 4, Pixel 4, Pixel 4 XL, Google Pixel 4 X. I'm saying it in every single variable or variance of that.
Gotcha. Wow.
So with the keywords, if you toss in some sort of oddball, does that just completely throw it off? Because that's been my understanding of it.
I mean, maybe. I don't think it, like, tags are not as important as before. It's just like an extra icing on the top. I think of it as kind of the sprinkles on your ice cream.
Okay.
Think of
like
that way.
on the cookie.
On the cookie, yeah, there you go.
I don't want to confuse the
Oh, yeah.
algorithm.
I'm enjoying all these dessert
We're making
references.
cookies.
I'm mixing up all, yeah. But yeah, like I would not just talk about random things in your description. Your first like 250 or 300 characters are the most important on your description.
Oh, descriptions matter?
Yeah.
Wow.
I've been
It probably
doing-
matters more.
Oh, what am I doing?
Titles and
Whoa.
description.
Oh.
It's so funny.
Oops.
We've been doing this for so long, and like I hate descriptions because I hate writing anything. I do that Creative Life podcast, and I know Sarah's very intentional. Like, hey, just like do descriptions, and I hate doing that.
Yeah.
Okay, so descriptions are important. Good to know.
Yeah. Let's see how I pulled up one thing.
Right now we are looking at Brandon's analytics.
Yeah, so I said Google Pixel 4a leaks are here. We'll talk about what the Google Pixel 4a looks like, specs and leaks about the Google Pixel 4 XL. So I said 3 times in the description. Mm-hmm. And then I said in the top about those Google Pixel 4a leaks. So the way that a lot of this works out is you're trying to target the robot, as I call it, the algorithm. Mm-hmm. But how do I target people as well? So that's where you have enticing topics, things that leave what's called a curiosity gap. Mm-hmm. So while my Midwestern side came up, my curiosity gap. Bag. But yeah, like, so essentially, what am I presenting that makes people think, oh, what are you talking about? Mm-hmm. Or what is the answer to that? Mm-hmm. I'm itching to know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you do that where it's enticing but not clickbait, in the sense that you're promising something and you're not following through with it? Mm-hmm. So all that is combining together, and after doing it over and over again, it kind of becomes a little bit like an intuition, like second nature.
So I've observed something in the world of creators, specifically people who really want to give out advice. They're very passionate about giving out advice to other people, and they will give you a method and then say that it's the only method to the end goal. And I find that irritating. What do you think about that?
I do too. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, the thing about the algorithm is it's constantly changing. Like if you feel like you're an expert at something, you're not. You always have to learn. That I'm a lifelong learner. Being humble or seeking after humility, at least, is a part of being able to recognize, hey, I may be wrong. So a lot of times I'll say like, hey, from my understanding, this is what I've found. So a lot of times I'll preface it leaving room for me to be wrong, even though I feel confident about something. So sometimes people will say, oh, just do whatever you want. Like, just be passionate or whatever. And it may just work for them. And why did it work for Casey Neistat or whatever? But why doesn't that work for me? It's because different scenarios. And in many ways, you just have to pay attention to the data on your channel and see what the algorithm understands about you, because you're one of many different types of creators, and then follow along with it. So was it last year? Randomly, a video that was like 3 months old started taking off, and it was about Apple. And I was like, oh, well, I didn't know what I was going to make. I guess I should make an Apple video. And that was the next video I made, and that one took off. I'm like, oh my gosh, this worked. And I kept making Apple videos over and over again because that's what the algorithm understood about me at the time.
Interesting.
Now, I think a trap that a lot of people probably get into is thinking very short term and one video at a time, and then they'll upload a video and that video gets a bad response. And then they either don't go that direction any longer, or they decide to actually unlist that video because it was so discouraging to them. From what I have observed, it's probably a good idea to think more like 10 videos at a time at least. But what do you think about that?
Yeah, I agree. Like I mentioned, the data points is really important, but that also leaves room for you to figure out where you're just going in general, like have a plan.
Yeah.
A lot of people will do batch recording. I wish I could do that. My life does not allow me to do that.
That's always the dream, right?
That's what we do with the podcast.
Yeah.
That
would be,
do 10 videos in
I can
one
only
day.
dream. I need to be a good manager of my career. But yeah, like I think I'm inherently a futuristic type thinker.
Okay.
So I have a lot of plans, but part of that planning out like 10 videos at a time gives me a sense of peace and freedom. Because I know that
you do have lightsabers behind your head, so
I do.
I think that validates.
I mean,
your
is
point
that
of view.
peace? Because I might die.
Yeah.
I might just
Quasar.
explode.
I don't know what. I mean, this is not a standard Jedi color of any sort, or Sith color.
I mean, I will
it's
say
a
at least
little bit. You
this-
got a little bit of evil in you, I think.
This is the Rey one that just came out.
Okay.
Spoiler alert. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Gotta stay to the end.
And then the white one,
Just like I watch them.
because that's in like Legends or something. White lightsabers. That's
Yeah.
got to be a thing. I don't know exactly what it means though. Maybe you're holy.
Okay.
I mean, you are very kind.
Oh, thank you.
So, I don't know how that equates to holiness, but
I do go to church.
You have been. You do go to and I mean, you gave me water and sparkling water, so you're a servant. So we're on to that. We'll have to explore that more.
Okay.
You might be holy.
I don't know what you're talking about.
He might be holy.
Okay. Well,
Very
that's great.
straightforward.
Oh, excuse me. Okay, so we've spoken about your process.
Yeah.
Right now, James's channel is, I say, popping off in comparison to other people. It's not, but we don't compare.
For its size, it's doing really well.
Yeah. So I want to do that take what you just said with your mouth and apply that. And just a couple of different things. And I will let you take the reins and you just kind of take a look at it. I can put the computer closer to you if you'd like. Would that be normal?
When the entire set falls apart.
I did my best, guys. Okay, here we go. If you're watching the video of this, well.
Okay,
I'm
this
sorry.
is good. This is good. We got this.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to go to your channel page first.
Mm-hmm. Should we do a screen recording of this, or is that just too much?
Oh.
That might make the fan go.
Oh, okay.
But one of the first things that I'll do is sort by most popular, because that indicates certain things that have worked for you.
Mm-hmm.
So I noticed that in your top 5, you have Lightroom. You have, I don't know what a Diana F Plus is.
That was like a one-off.
Yeah, that one that was a
camera.
Weird.
Probably because no one had heard of it before, and therefore you were the source. But yeah, and then I see 2 street photography videos and a Visco cam for the Visco girls, and then photographing a lantern festival. Oh, that's a good thumbnail though.
Oh, thanks.
Oh yeah, that's great. Okay, so we have most of these as your street photography, and then Lightroom is on here. So I imagine even if you just kept making content with that same kind of concept, like how do you, even blending it, like we were talking about with the cookie,
right?
Street photography, how to edit street photography in Lightroom, which that's your #1 video too. Like you're doing all that actually already.
That was like 4 years ago.
Yeah, a lot of these are way older.
So a little bit, like you can give him a little bit of background on how you kind of came back around to your street photography vibe. For those of you who are listening, here's a story from James.
Oh, hi. Welcome to James's story time. This is Christina. Can I get a song? Okay. Oh, that was good. That was good. Thank you.
Copyright.
So let's see. So I started out in the realm of Lightroom and street photography, then kind of moved away from that into different forms of photography, but also just general creativity, and definitely did not see traction in that realm to a great degree.
This was
it
like
wasn't
4 years
until
ago.
right. I mean, this was over time. It was also just me self-discovering and trying to figure out what the heck I'm doing with what I want to be talking about legacy, like what I want to be spending my time talking about. And I was really struggling with like, how do I help people in the kind of the highest way I can think of. Now I came to this realization that, then this was so freeing to me, that it's not that I need to help people in a particular way. It's just that I'm helping people. And that brought liberty to my life, I suppose. But then I returned back to street photography hardcore whenever he's looking. Oh, he sees data and his face is lighting up. So I returned to street photography hardcore very, very recently, following a trip to New York City, where I
Trying not to knock the microphones.
when I had a photo walk there. That photo walk, when I shared it, point of view photo walk, hence the POV in my title, which is a big deal. Just like in the street photography world, that's a big deal. It just means like I'm gonna put a GoPro on my chest or on my camera and do like a first person walk through, of a photo walk. And so this is something that has happened in street photography for a while now.
You found your audience.
Yes, and other people do it. Most people don't do it very well. They're not good editors. They're not very because they're just photographers. So it's just not gonna flow as well. Like my edits are rather simple. As you watch them, there's actually basically no music except for the beginning. But I'm very intentional about helping them flow well, so that they're fun to watch. And people, street photographers really enjoy this. I found. So I went to New York City, which is very much a mecca for street photography.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And shared that video and got, I think I'm at like 10,000 views right now.
11,000.
11,000.
Oh, yay. You just
And-
passed it. Good
yeah.
job.
Yeah.
And so,
And he gained 194 subscribers on a channel that has just around 2,500 subscribers. That's a lot.
that's good. Is that
It's
good?
unreal. We've
Yeah.
like never seen it.
You should go to New York again.
I think, listen,
It's a little expensive.
that's part of why that's part of why we're in California, because Venice Beach is another version of that we're hoping will
Yeah.
kind of kick off. But so since then, I've just been heads down street photography POV photo walks.
Mhm.
And another thing is my thumbnails. You may notice I got some little bit of pushback on this, that like basically I should have my face in the thumbnails and that sort of thing. But what I found is in the street photography world, it seems to be more important that they see that you can take a good photo than they see your face.
Yeah.
And you're going to have other people's faces in the thumbnail.
Right.
Mhm.
Because, I mean, the reason why that is even advice to begin with is so that the viewer, whoever's surfing YouTube, connects with someone else.
Sure.
And it's the eyes, it's the face, things like that. So it doesn't necessarily have to be you in this case, because you understand the culture and the audience that you're trying to reach.
Right, exactly. I think it's a unique audience in that sense, where like with most audiences, you the creator is probably what you want in the thumbnail. But in this case, like for example, if I'm exploring photo walks, the first thing I'm going to be interested in is if the photo that I see is a well-executed photo and it's intriguing, because then I can go, this person is going to take good photos and I'm going to watch them take good photos.
And I think the face thing...
You don't have to hold that all night. But
yeah, that's right. In many ways, I think a lot of that is a branding thing, because I've had situations where I follow someone and I don't notice that they posted a new video because it blended in. There wasn't something that distinguished them from another person. So that's why I like those like simple, minimal icons that go in a corner, and it's just there all the time, even if it's just like a triangle of color with an icon in there.
Put a little GoPro in the bottom left corner of mine.
Yeah. Oh, there you go.
Yeah, because that's what I do. I mean, I put a GoPro on me.
Perfect. Yeah, I mean, so that can really help you out, and you actually have a good method down already. I can tell, because you start with street photography, and then you have a location and then a POV there. Those are your ones that have the highest impressions. So that impressions mean that the algorithm understands what your video is about, and it's taking a bet on you. It's trying to serve it to other people. And here's the other part for humility on the platform, right? Google is known as an advertising company, right? So they sell ads, impressions. They sell banner ads and things like that. As a creator, you should actually be paying YouTube to use it, because what they're doing is giving you free ad space. And what they're saying, hey, are you going to be a good steward? Are you going to use these free impressions well? And that's your click-through rate. And then is it actually something that they like the product that they click through into? That's your average view duration, your watch time. So if you happen to have a good click-through rate, a good product of view duration, and you do that over and over and over again, it'll give you more impressions. Like, hey, you did that really well. You stewarded those impressions well. Let's give you more. And you can actually build momentum. So if you are really disciplined about doing the same, strategy, you will actually feel that momentum. And you'll feel when it drops out too.
Yeah, sure.
But at the same time, because you built it up, you're like, can I do that again? And once you figure out, and you might have to wander a little bit, but then once you figure out like, oh, I think this is working, and you start building that momentum again, that's where a sense of confidence comes into play. And that's where when things drop out, like January every single year for everyone, all the creators out there, I feel you, man. But like, it's just, that this is a cycle, it's a season, and you just have to go with the ebbs and flows. But that's why you also don't squander money you make or anything else, or, you just have to have this expectation that things could fall away. And be okay with that.
Yeah. Another thing that was a huge part of my journey of learning what I wanted to create was, and all this back and forth that I embarked on, was like shooting videos that I felt that I enjoyed creating, that I actually thoroughly got excited about creating. And I really struggled to do the sit down at a desk and just articulate, like a lot of it was just pure perfectionism. Like I wanted to say the words right. And I found myself dreading filming the video, which is never a good place to be.
Right.
I always tell people fail, and fail joyously. So when I had that a video project. When I first picked up my camera and wanted to learn how to use it, I had videos every single day. And so that taught me that I didn't have time to have perfection. I just needed to finish it and move on. And so in many ways, I recognize how much I grew from that. And in many ways, like YouTube is the same way. Most of the time, your one video is not going to make or break you. And if it made you, you probably wouldn't know how to handle it. Let's be honest.
It'd be very overwhelming.
Yeah, it's gonna shock you. You actually don't want a viral video. It's probably one of the worst.
You had a viral video, and
it messed me up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it went trending, and that's why I ended up in an algorithmic ditch. And so I'm digging myself out of that.
One of the things we learned early is that a viral video might give you the wrong audience.
Exactly, and that's exactly what it was.
Yeah.
So it hit trending. The first time I've ever had that, I was shocked. And at first I was like, oh, this is cool, because trending, there's a level of someone at YouTube has a hand in it. I'm like, whoa, somebody knows who I am, I guess.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's cool. And I was like, oh, wow, all these views and stuff like that. And then I saw all of my views for every other video drop. And then every single video after that, until just recently, bombed. I did not even hit 10% of my subscriber ratio, which is like a sign of a healthy channel. If you get 10% of your subscribers, you're doing great. I didn't get that. So if I hit 100,000 subscribers now, I was getting maybe about 6,000 or 7,000 views on a video. And I was like, whoa, I don't know what to do. And I started noticing that suggested videos from the algorithm were going to like random things about like this makeup person or this and this. Like that meant that the algorithm had no idea what I was about anymore. So I had to train it and make more videos, machine learning, right? So you give it more data. I was like, hey, I'm making videos about smartphones, and keep doing that until it's like, oh, okay, I think I know what you're doing. And then it serves it out.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Interesting.
Like that.
Okay, so lastly, is there anything in here that you're seeing that stands out?
This one, there is one video here that is just so good. So there's if we look at the thumbnail for this one, it's actually, where'd it go? It's the protest.
This one, yeah.
Oh yeah. Street photography, photographing a protest. So first of all, protest, that's pretty dramatic. And then you have two faces on there, but they're covered in masks. So that's a level of mystique.
Ambiguity.
Yeah, and one of the faces is an anonymous mask. The Guy Fury is, or not Guy Fury.
Yeah.
Wow, I just hear that. What is his name?
He's a chef.
You talking about V for Vendetta?
Yeah. Oh no.
Close.
Oh man, that's amazing.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Oh gosh, I need to make a meme out of this clip.
It's there are turn of phrases, or I don't.
Oh yeah. I know what you're talking about.
It's like how the turntables. Like I do that all the time with things. It's like Brandon. That was close, but
are you hungry?
Definitely not.
Is that what you're thinking?
No.
Are you thinking of like a grilled cheese sandwich?
That does sound really good with like tomato basil soup.
Ooh, boy.
Dip that.
I'm gonna name my kid Guy.
There you go. But yeah,
even if it's a girl.
Oh no. So my last name is Lee. So my old roommate would say, "Can I name your kid Dirt?" And I was like, "What? Like Dirt Lee?" I was like, just all these dirt things. But the best one was like, "Can I name your kid Brock?"
Broccoli.
So it's broccoli. And it have a middle initial of O, so it's broccoli.
Do that.
Yeah, I know.
It needs to exist in
my
the world.
future wife would hate me. But yeah, like this is a great thumbnail with the anonymous mask, whatever that is called, because it's not Guy Fieri, with a really enticing title. And right here we see that has 13% click-through rate. Now the only thing that's hard is it probably didn't know what your video really, really was about. Like, what is this protest? What's it about? Is this trending? Is it relevant? So that's another piece of the pie that people forget. It's like you can make things with like the best thumbnail and title, but if it's not something that people actually care about, why would they click on it, and why would it serve it out to people?
Around that time, protests were kicking up too, so that may have played a role in it.
But if you have a new protest, you could do the same exact title, but in the location.
Right.
Yeah. Right. And yeah, your location thing is really smart. There's a part of me that wants to suggest you experiment with a few videos and put street photography at the end.
I've heard this.
Yeah, because the way I format all of my titles is I'm talking to the robot on the back end, and I'm talking to the person on the front end.
Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, my titles are are just, it breaks all these rules. It's like, oh, you're only supposed to have like 70 characters or whatever. And I'm like, I'm going to max it out. But like, I'm thinking like, you're not going to see the end anyway. So I'm just going to put all this stuff there for the algorithm. Like if I can say Google Pixel more in the title, I'm going to do it.
Gotcha.
One of my most clever ones is when I was making a video on the Galaxy S10 Plus, but there's a variance or another model of it called an S10, the non-plus one. So I said 10 plus accessories for the Galaxy S10. So you know how I got S10 and S10 or a 10 plus in the same title?
Right.
That's like little clever things like that.
Very clever.
Very clever.
So you mentioned diversification. Talk more about that. I want to learn. Oops. We'll just mute that mic. I want to learn more about how you plan to diversify in the future, some of your goals on that, how you're currently diversifying. We dabbled a little bit into chatting about finances, so I want to shift from the conversation of YouTube and just geeking out to, okay, let's think past YouTube. Let's think, okay, YouTube hits a tree next year. I hope it doesn't. But let's say it hits a tree next year.
Do you have a LinkedIn strategy?
Actually, I follow a lot of people.
Listen, James, don't come down on LinkedIn.
Yeah,
I have a
underrated.
LinkedIn, and most of the people that I'm connected with are CEOs. Because,
dang.
Yeah, all of the, that's how I know that we're going to get a new freelance client is the CEO sends me a request on LinkedIn, and I'm like, all right, let me do some research on these guys. But anyway, not about me, more about you. What are your just big picture thinkings? Yeah.
So I don't expect YouTube to be around forever. And I don't expect people to want to watch me forever. And eventually I'm going to get old and want to do something else. So in many ways, creating financial stability for myself. So I come from kind of dirt, so to speak. When I was 18, I was on my own. I lived in a car. So I had to figure it out. And
how did you fit this set in the car?
Yeah, it's been a long time since the car. Yeah, but yeah, that'll humble you real quick when you're like, oh, I don't know if I have enough money for food and all these other different things. And then to want to go to college, maybe that was like something for myself, where I just wanted to complete something and to do it on my own. So I did the easiest thing is go to a private Christian university that costs $40,000 a year and pay for it on my own.
Oh my gosh.
But I did it. I worked like 80 hours a week with a music program, which I don't even use. I don't know. Why I ended up doing that, I don't know.
College.
I know, but like I paid for it and I became debt free 3 years after I graduated. I somehow managed to do all of that.
That's amazing.
And so in many ways, I view finances as a tool to get things done. And it doesn't have to enslave me. When I was paying off debt, I thought of it as like a video game, like Mario fighting off Bowser. I'm like, money. Like, until I eventually defeated the debt. And that made it really fun in a weird way, because like it can be really like burdensome for a lot of people to view debt, and it is, but you can have a lot of freedom once you're debt free. And for me, I've invested a lot of my money into like stocks and now starting with real estate, because I live dirt cheap. I lived in I do live in Southern California, but previously I was paying about $1,500 a month for all my expenses. And that's some people's rent in Southern California. Now it's maybe about $2,500 a month because I recently just bought a house, which is crazy. Yeah, thank you. But the crazy thing is like, okay, so you paid off all this debt and you intentionally took out a mortgage for hundreds of thousands of dollars. Why in the world would you do that?
Now you're in debt. Congratulations.
Yeah, but I'm excited about that because not all debt's the same. I actually used to work, ironically, in the financial aid department at a university.
You just like shoveled debt to people.
Yeah, which I hated, but I was always talking to them about how to pay off debt in a strategic way and how to handle their money and view those things. That was really fun. And I thought maybe I should start a YouTube channel on that, but like, who wants to watch that? And now you have Graham Stephan. Dang it. But I'm planning on starting a finance channel anyways, still. But
Finances for Creators.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's actually a really good channel name. You probably should snag that.
There you go. There you go. I have a very big web of all the things that I'm trying to do. So it will hopefully set up creators for the rest of their lives. But like real estate is interesting because I don't think of it as something that I'm paying this debt. Like I don't feel burdened by that. I think of it as other people are paying my debt. They're buying the house for me because I have roommates and they're paying rent. So it's like $2,700 a month for where I'm at now. My roommates, I charge them an under market rate because they moved with me. And it's like an incentive. It's like, hey, thanks for moving with me. Like, I want to hook you up. I'm not going to be like some slumlord or like some guy who's ripping you off. I'm going to charge you under market rent. And it's paying most.
Although you'll whip out the baseball bat if you have to, right?
Yeah. Especially if they burn down my house.
Set your house on fire.
Oh, yeah. Tell that story.
Oh, gosh.
That was glorious.
Oh, man. So what happened is a roommate turned on the gas on the stove accidentally somehow. And it was on for like 6 hours. And no one did anything about it. They walked past it. They smelled it a little bit. And they walked out and like, oh, what is this? Oh, it must just be this really weird smelling soup. Yeah. It smells kind of eggy. I don't know.
It smells like a gas leak. Why would they make soup smell like that?
No, it's chicken noodle soup. So like I had a roommate that was literally just hanging out in his room for 6 hours, inhaling this gas and didn't realize that there was a problem. So if the furnace turned on, my whole house would have exploded.
Boom.
And my roommate would have died.
That would have been a bad investment.
It would have been, yeah, really. I am probably going to bump up my insurance. But it's crazy because they were venting out all the gas from the house with the windows open and the fans on. When I pulled up in the driveway, I could smell the gas from the driveway.
Whoa.
That's how bad it was.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So, yeah, it gets more detailed, but I won't go into it.
Well, I'm glad you're still here.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
And I'm glad the soup tasted good.
Well, if my roommate can't smell anything, does it taste good?
Wow. Yeah, because it was like 70% of taste is smell or something.
Yeah.
Like that, right?
That's a sad life.
Guy Fieri would cry. But yeah, like, so yeah, they're paying rent. And so I am technically paying about like $1,100 a month towards my house. $250 of that is what you call vacancy and repairs. So you have a contingency and then insurance. So, and then everything else is going towards what's called principal. That's like your forced savings account, which is this house. I get about $10,000 right now in the first year of principal on my house, which means that I'm breaking even right there, like on what I'm paying per month. That doesn't include the tax write-offs for having interest and taxes and all these different things because it's a rental. And then I have this studio space, which is also another business write-off. Yeah. It's a dedicated space. So I'm actually making a profit by having a home in Southern California, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That has me thinking about a lot of things I mentioned. Some of those things, and James and I are still figuring out how to get our life together in that way. But it makes me feel like I don't have to settle for the rent life just because it's comfortable, that I can have a very nice place, but play the cards right and just be very strategic about it and come out on top. The banks probably don't want you to know that, but it's just, it's exciting.
Yeah. And right now interest rates are so low. I got an interest rate of 3.375% for a mortgage, which is bonkers. So if inflation is 2%, then you're really paying what, 375% in interest. So if I told you, hey, you can have this house, whatever amount it is in Utah, like hundreds of thousands of dollars, but you're only going to pay like barely over 1%. Would you take it? You control this property.
Yeah. You don't have to have people running on top of your head and making stomping sounds.
Yeah.
Shout out to our neighbors.
Yeah, there you go. And then on top of that, me making a rental, I write off all of that interest and taxes. So yeah, it's I think real estate is the life hack. And unfortunately, I think the millennial Gen Z culture really poo-poos on it. Sorry, Gary V. Like, I disagree with you. I understand what you're saying. It's about people who are flexing. Like, I don't buy a house to flex. I buy a house to have something modest that will generate income.
Very smart.
So what do you think millennials are doing wrong with money?
Spending it on stupid stuff. Yeah. It's really crazy because for me, I don't understand how people spend so much money.
I don't either, honestly.
Yeah, I just get
feel
used
like
to
people eat their food, or they do eat their food.
People eat their food. It's a travesty.
I feel like so many people eat their money.
Yeah.
It it tears me up inside if we spend more than our budgeted amount for eating out. And to be quite frank, our budgeted amount per month for eating out is about $50 a month.
Do you want to go get sushi again tonight?
Shut up. We're on a business trip.
$50 is really great.
Yeah, $50 for both of us.
Whoa.
I cook everything. On this trip, I meal prepped. So for the first maybe 4 days of the trip, everything we ate that I made from home, and I probably spent like $75 at the grocery store doing that. I bought a whole chicken so I can cut it up into pieces, and I'm very strategic whenever it comes to food. So our grocery budget when we were first married, and this was like when we were like broke, was maybe $300 a month, maybe $250 because I would like
which
get
is
coupons
actually pretty
and stuff.
reasonable for a couple.
But so many people spend 4 times that amount.
Oh yeah,
it is absurd. So I have a very tough time spending money on those little things because I know they stack up. Now, if I want to take a freediving course, that's why I saved all that money for groceries because eating out, it makes me happy short term, but being able to go on a trip long term, like that kind of stuff gets me excited. And I want to start thinking about long term. Yes, let's go on trips, but maybe let's like own a place and we'll be able to, at the very least, it be our own. So we're not giving somebody, or not just pouring money into somebody else's property. And
if you move, don't sell it. Just rent it out. Yeah. That's where everything goes wrong. People just keep saying like, "Oh, don't buy a house. You get tied down." I'm like, you're like, how do you? No, like you make someone else buy your home. Be a good landlord to them though. Like, don't be a jerk. But you can move wherever you want. The moment you sell, you're paying all these costs just to sell. You lose all the increase. So just keep it, and it's a tax shelter. Like one of the reasons why I wasn't going to quit my job until I got a house is because I wanted the tax shelter and to write it off. And it's easier to get a loan when you have a normal job too.
Right. Yeah.
So what would you say to somebody, maybe a younger person whose money burns a hole in their pocket? They get their paycheck on Monday and they spend it by Friday.
Yeah. Do you want like Twinkies, or do you want like tons of homes that are going to help you have financial freedom?
There you go.
So like everyone,
Twinkies are
so everyone else can make fun of you and stuff like that. This is just life. Like you're the nerd in
if
school.
If you said iced coffee, then we would have a conundrum there.
I make my own. Do you make your own?
Oh,
he does now that we're married, because he used to buy his friggin' coffee every single day, and I was like, I'm not spending $150 on coffee, James. You're going to buy.
Cold brew? You make cold brew?
Dude, you married up.
Like,
oh my gosh. Oh, you don't have to convince me.
When James and I got married, his dad, right around that time, his dad kind of just like, hey, just so you know, if you give him like $10 for his birthday, he'll ask you for 15 the day before his birthday because he's already spent it. And he still does it, but at a reasonable amount. Like our fun money, I'll go like, because we have fun money where it's like, James, you just do whatever you want, buy games, I don't care. And then I have fun money, which I never spend because it's just how we are. You
know what's fun? Investing.
Right? So James will take his fun money, and I'll kind of go through the budget, and, we'll be putting things in the places that they need to go. And I'll go, James, what is this like $6 from? He's like, oh, that's my February fun money. And I'm like, dude, it's January 15th. Like, you can't spend your February fun money. But yeah, we're all right.
So there are two ways to think of it. A lot of people have budgets, and they'll like adhere to it strictly, and they have the envelope system and everything else with cash and stuff. If it works, it works. Like I can't stand Gordon Ramsay.
Dave Ramsey.
Dave Ramsey.
I think you're hungry. I think that's what it is.
That's so good.
Yep. He's hungry.
That's super too.
He needs some soup.
Oh, I can't believe I just did that. Dave Ramsey.
Protein bar. You're really struggling.
Yeah. My food budget is out, so I haven't been eating for like no. Dave Ramsey. Yeah, I think he is great for those who are horrendous with their finances. So he has really good strategies for that. But if you're at least like moderately good with your money or like really good at it, he's just like a terrible choice. Like for him to suggest a snowball method is really bad, because you should actually go after your highest interest loans and triage it down rather than your smallest amount amount because no business actually pays off their debt that way.
That's a really interesting perspective on Dave Ramsey that I've never heard before.
Yeah, I mean, like
I think it's nuanced, which is nice.
And if you hang out with me a lot, I'm very much about nuance. Like I understand there are different perspectives, and I'm not the one size fits all, as we were talking about earlier. I forgot. Oh yeah, the money thing. Oh yeah. So so the budget thing for me, I have a spreadsheet that I made, but I hardly look at it. I just make it once for the year just to get an idea of like where am I kind of heading, and then I don't follow a budget. What I do is I just spend my money really fast on investments. So I feel like I get that kick of buying something, but I'm investing every single time.
That's cool.
And so if I don't have the money to spend on things that aren't actually that great, that like kind of, food and avocado toast and whatever, then I don't end up spending on stupid things to begin with. I'm increasing my net worth. Yeah.
Okay.
That's good.
Very interesting. It's very tough for me to spend on things that I can't, it's not liquid, so to speak, because we do own our own business and we are self-employed. I have the 6 months of all of our expenses set aside in a money market because they have higher interest rates.
Yeah.
That's a new.
Do you have a Wealthfront account?
I don't.
I'll send you a link.
Okay.
But like, no, so it's a high interest savings account.
Okay.
So it's like 1.7%, which is like,
wow.
It used to
That's
be
like
better.
a CD.
Yeah. It used to be over 2%, which was beating inflation, but like the Fed did a bunch. I don't want to bore you. But so it got a little bit lower. But if you put it in there, it's even more liquid because you can just pull it out at any time. But
is there not like a minimum or?
No, there isn't.
What?
Yeah. The way that
Please send me a link.
I will. Yeah. It's like what happens, like all these things do it. But like if you refer people, you get more that it's managed for free because they would normally have fees for that. But you can invest like a certain, like I can't remember what it was. I think it was like 5,000. I could be wrong. But like you can do that for free. So if you put it in there, it'll accrue interest for free.
Huh.
Like you don't pay for that account. And like that, actually the savings account doesn't charge you to begin with, but if you have an IRA or anything like that, that's where the fees come into play. But the savings account is straight up free because they have a low friction point where you hope that you have that savings account will go into the IRA. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. I love that.
But yeah, 1.7% is almost at inflation. So you might as well do that.
I think this is a disclaimer because I always hear people say
this is not financial advice. This is entertainment.
We don't know what we're talking about. This is just our experience, and please consult someone who has a degree.
I'm the only certified financial advisor at this table, and I disagree with most of what was just said.
He's the certified one, but he spends his February fund money in January. So
yes, that is a very good disclaimer.
Yeah. So yeah, learning about just being able to be in a position where you're not just surviving with your money, you're thriving.
Right. We've
been fortunate enough, at least at this point in the year, to be able to start to thrive with our money. And, in the circumstance where it does turn into, okay, it's survive time because we have our own business and it's a recession, then we'll have that backlog to fall back on. And you also feel, and I just want to encourage anybody listening to save your freaking money because you have so much more flexibility. You don't think about it, but you have so much more flexibility mentally because you're not afraid to take a risk and go to California and take a freediving course and make a podcast with friends because that will help. At least it'll help us in the long run and it'll bring more value. I don't even know what the value would be, but it brings more value to us in the long run. Yeah. And when you have that shelter of, okay, I've got 6 months in savings, or I even have like 2 months in savings, it's not all going to hit the fan. And if it does hit the fan, I can weasel my way out of it. Yeah. Just save your money, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Really, and then find creative ways to make more money. A lot of people trade their time for money.
Ooh, that's us. That's exactly what we're doing. And we're trying to figure out a way to now not do that.
Yeah.
Because it's a very low overhead. Like all of the money that we make is in our pockets. Yeah. We don't have any debt. It's just how much time do we have to edit. But time is non-renewing.
Right.
So now we're trying to delegate and oh my gosh.
Yeah. I'm like, would you really want to work for someone that only pays you like $20 an hour? Like, or do you want to take some other job or gig, and you have some sort of influence or platform, and you can make way more than that in a shorter period of time. Like, because that's where I'm at now. Like, I look at what I make at my full-time job, because I have a full-time job, I have a part-time job, and I do the YouTube business.
He's a hustler.
Yeah, I don't sleep. But I realize, I'm like, oh man, I'm making multiples more on my YouTube channel than what I make at my full-time job.
Yeah.
Which is, I'm like, I get it now. Like, I used to feel like it was impossible to get to 6 figures. And now I'm like, oh, like, if you just think about things differently and you work really hard at it and don't expect a return right away, but eventually you can definitely get that. And I can live off of $30,000 a year.
Yeah.
So
oh my gosh, keep your cost of living so low.
Yeah. So like all the extra stuff is for me to eventually purchase more homes. My goal is to get to 10 homes. I don't expect myself to actually get it, but to 10 rental properties. You have to set goals. But to 10 rental properties, so that like I can have all of this built up. And my ultimate goal for the wealth and stuff like that is so I can eventually have a family, really take care of them, adopt some kids, foster some kids, like and like give them a future and some hope. So like that's my motivating goal behind all of it. It's not just to hoard money for the sake of it or to flex. It's to make a difference in people's lives.
Yeah, it's so fascinating considering you run a tech channel. Like, I love that is underneath all of it, driving you towards a huge ambitious goal in the future. Does that feel like something that you will? Because a lot of times when you have big goals, they feel like they're gonna take forever to get to. Does that feel like something that's very obtainable for you? Like, what's your mindset about that?
Well, I'm still waiting for a wife, so I've learned patience, you know? So I figure it's just, and nothing I have is deserved. So if it takes me a while to get, there, then okay. Like I've just had difficult experiences. Like if you lived in a car and you had to find a way to survive, waiting a year or a few years feels pretty.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like that big of a deal, to be honest. So it's all perspective. I just thank God for all the ways I've been humbled.
A lot of people who are younger versions of you in this sense that they follow you online and maybe they're 16, but they're like really well off. They're probably never going to end up living in a car. I think they may never experience that peace. Yeah. And I think it's important that you said that because now they realize, oh, maybe it's a good idea for me to create some version of that. I don't necessarily have to live in the car, but I create some sort of friction in my life that will make me be built of some of what Brandon is built of.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you've noticed that probably in this podcast that I've listed off many, many ways that I've kind of helped myself mentally process things or think things through. And because I struggled with like clinical depression, all these different things. And this is not medical advice. And like definitely talk to a therapist, get medication if you need to, things like that. But for me, what ended up helping is having a community over and over again tell me that, no, that's a lie. And like I would train myself to view, to think of things differently. And so now in things that are not as severe as being depressed, like, oh, I didn't get enough views. Okay, well, I'll just figure it out next time. I just learn from it. It feels like it's not that big of a deal because I've trained myself to let it roll off my back.
As a medical professional, I agree with everything you just said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Therapy is amazing. And if you go and talk to a counselor, it's a sign of strength. So definitely go talk to someone.
Yeah. Anytime we end a podcast with inviting people to go to therapy, I think we've done a great job.
Yeah. I fun fact, used to hate therapists and like the idea of it. I just wasn't there for it. But I think therapy is like a good idea. I think you treat. Why are we talking about therapy? You want to treat your issues before they become problems. Deal with your issues, and then they won't. They maybe won't become problems. I'm not a medical
And if it's a problem, definitely talk to someone. I mean, the other part that makes this YouTube thing really great for me is actually the conversations I've had in private. There was someone who was really struggling with suicide that for some reason wanted to talk to me. And I actually wanted to go into counseling, like to be a counselor. So when I see someone crying and hurting, I run towards them. Some people run away, but I run towards them. And so that experience of trying to show that he's worthy of love that he has worth just for being a human being. And saying like, hey, if you don't do this for yourself, at least do it for me, to like call someone for things. Like that experience really gave a lot of meaning and weight to what I'm doing. I'm like, yeah, I'm talking about phones and stuff like that, but if it leaves a door open for someone to talk about like some real stuff, like I want to be a part of that. I want to make a difference in people's lives and to love them. Like that's the real deal. Like, so that's why I like making this stuff. So thankfully that person called someone that night, and they're still around and they're thriving now. And I'm so thankful for the opportunity I've had to do that.
Yeah, real good. Good.
That's actually incredible.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah. I love your energy and your enthusiasm and your obsession for the things that you're up to. So keep it up.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Do you know what's funny? The last question that we had written on our notes was, what are you trying to accomplish with your videos? And you kind of answered that. So thank you. That was a wonderful note to leave off of. I will, of course, link everything below to follow Brandon. If you're interested in technology and phones, and just if you're interested in witty tweets, give him a follow on Twitter. Follow him on, I don't think you Instagram very much.
I'm bad at it. I should get better at that.
He's a lurker on Instagram, so don't follow him. I'm just kidding.
No, dang.
Just follow him everywhere. We'll link it below. His
and
stuff
I have
below.
secret channels that are already there.
He does.
So.
He has all sorts of secret channels, and he was telling us about one of them, and I won't tell you it. Just think of sounds.
Yeah. Maybe you have to look at the description to find it.
Ooh, maybe do that. Thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you, Brandon, so much for being here. I don't know what that was.
Thanks for having me, though.
Touched his shoulder.
Like, don't touch me.
You can leave.
Touch is my love language.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't have anything else to say. James, go ahead and end it. I forgot what I was talking about.
Bye.
Bye.
Have a good one.
That was amazing.
Oh, thank you.
Good job.